Hi, this is Delegate Tim Manchin reporting to you with regards to the West Virginia Legislature's activities for the past week. Last week we opened the legislature on January 8th, and today is the 14th, and a lot has happened since then, even though it's just been very early in the session. We started out with the Democrats announcing what their legislative agenda was. And that's a combination of things that the Speaker of the House, who runs the House of Delegates, together with his leadership team, who are usually the chairs of the major committees in the House, along with some other delegates who help guide him in the administration of the House. That's what they come together to and decide that would be good public policy and what we want to do for the people of West Virginia in a year. One of those bills is the False Claims Act, and that's a bill that I'm very interested in and actually sponsored, because I think that it's important for West Virginia taxpayers to be treated fairly. This is a bill that is very old. It goes all the way back to the Civil War. And during the Civil War, there were a lot of businesses that were cheating the government. They were selling them shoes that fell apart and that they knew would fall apart, or they sold them munitions that were full of sawdust and other types of products and they basically were submitting false claims for how many they delivered and those sorts of things. And so President Lincoln adopted this law, and the idea behind the law is to try to incentivize, to encourage people who may work for that manufacturer who is submitting a false claim to come forward with that information. And that's a hard thing for an employee to do. The same thing is true with regards to the government itself. Oftentimes there are elected officials or public employees who are cheating the taxpayers. And it takes a subordinate who works for that person to know about it, or somebody that works closely with them to know about that fraud and to report that fraud. And so what they decided was it was good to give this person, if they provided valuable knowledge, and that valuable knowledge led to the prosecution of a claim, it was good to give them a percentage of whatever the taxpayers got back. And so the Federal Model Tort Claims Act has been around for a long time. There are approximately 30 states that have adopted it. And one of the reasons why they have adopted the Federal Tort Claims Act is because the federal government is trying to encourage states to catch businesses who defraud the federal government as well as the state government. If it's something that involves the federal government, then the federal government, if a state has their own False Claims Act, will actually add 10% on to whatever the state would have been entitled to out of that claim. So these acts over the past 5 or 10 years have brought in billions of dollars. And unfortunately, the state of West Virginia has never adopted a False Claims Act. The way the act works is once this person who has knowledge of the fraud and can bring forth that information, they can see an attorney or they can try to file a pleading on their own. And what that is that's filing a civil action in a court. So it's a big process. It's not something where you just kind of turn in a report, but you have to file a claim in court. And that claim is sealed for 60 days. And during that 60 days, the state's attorney general gets a chance to look at that claim. If the state of West Virginia, through its attorney general, wants to pursue the claim on its own and do the work, then the person who reported the fraud stays in as a plaintiff, but the state of West Virginia is also one of the plaintiffs in the case seeking money. And the person who reported it gets a smaller percentage. It's like 10 or 20% of the claim. If the state of West Virginia, through its attorney general, decides, no, there's a private attorney involved, this will be expensive for us to pursue, we'd rather not take the risk on whether we're going to recover, we'd rather let them go ahead and do it, and then we'll just get our share of the money. in that case, the individual and its attorney get a little larger percentage. I think it can go up to 30%. But this has resulted in billions of dollars for states over the last 5 or 10 years. States such as our sister state of Virginia has a bill just like this. New York, New Jersey, states throughout the South, including Texas, all have the same bill and have been receiving the benefits of it. This means that their taxpayers have to pay less for what they get from the government. This is a taxpayer protection bill. There are various groups that are out there, Taxpayers Against Fraud, who are promoting these bills across the country as a way in which to decrease what taxpayers have to share. Now, curiously, we ran this bill in the Judiciary Committee this week. We spent 5 hours discussing this bill, asking questions about the bill, interviewing the Attorney General, considering various amendments to the bill, and we passed an amendment that said that inmates could not participate in this kind of a program because we didn't think that was appropriate. Even though there might be some instances where they could qualify. But after that, the big business interests in the community came out. Mostly these are national companies, but it's through the Chamber of Commerce. And they came out and criticized this bill. They said, oh, this is just another lawsuit bill, another lawyer's bill. It's hard for me to understand that position, and they don't logically approach the bill and say what they think is wrong with the bill. They just don't like the idea. So why is it that they don't like the idea of holding businesses accountable to be honest in their dealings with the state of West Virginia? Certainly businesses expect other businesses that they do business with to be fair and honest with them. They don't think they should get to cheat them. Why wouldn't businesses want there to be a level playing field? You know, only a small percentage of businesses do work with the government, and even smaller percentage of that cheats the government or submits false claims, claiming money that they're not entitled to. Well, those ones that cheat and get away with it, they have an unfair advantage over the businesses that are honest and fair. So why would they want to encourage a system where all businesses are not treated equally? I can't understand it, but the bottom line is, why shouldn't West Virginians, West Virginia taxpayers especially, get the same benefits as people from Virginia in these lawsuits? Why shouldn't they reduce our tax burden? Why shouldn't brave West Virginians who are willing to report their employers for defrauding the government be rewarded the same way as they are in Virginia and Texas and New York and New Jersey? And why shouldn't our businesses have a fair and level playing field with everybody else in the state or the country?